somebody that you can hire to help you with various business issues, political problems, counterintelligence, whatever it might be. So, Mr. Stone, thank you for joining us, and please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ron, and thanks everybody for coming this early. This is even early for me. For those of you who wanted me to, thought I might come here and give an ideological screed, that's not my purpose. I want to talk today really about how the world works in terms of the way communication technology has changed dramatically, how that has applied to the business of politics, but really the business of business, the business, no matter what business you're in. And then in the Q&A section, I love a good political scrap as much as anyone else. I can certainly give as good as I get, so I'm happy to talk politics, give you my views and hear yours when we get to that section of the program. But first of all, some of you should know that there are journalists in the room and they are welcome. And Ron has agreed that my remarks can be on the record. We did ask a reporter from Gawker to leave because that's not a publication. That's politics. That's part of the journalism we present. We don't like Ronn Torossian or Roger Stone or many of the people in this room because they're successful and they make money. So when the folks at Gawker elect somebody or launch a new product or save a company or build a company, great, they can say whatever they want, but in the last, I would say 6 months, I've been called an imbecile, an idiot, a pervert. That's not journalism, that's name calling. Want to criticize me? Be articulate. Let's get into it. But name calling, that's not, that's frizzy-haired journalism. It's the journalism of people who haven't accomplished anything, so they have to criticize everybody who has, regardless of their ideological stripe. So I'm delighted that they are not here. I don't take Squawker too seriously, but I do think they had to be addressed. It's really about criticizing the man in the arena. I mean, Ronn Torossian gets in the arena for his clients. The credit doesn't go to the person who stands on the sidelines and says, oh, you failed, or you could have done this better, or you could have done that better, or you should have tried this, or you should have tried that. The credit belongs to the person who gets in the arena. Now, sometimes in the arena you succeed, and sometimes in the arena you fail, and you will come up short again and again and again. But it is the timid souls who never get out and try, who never know either the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat, who get the credit. Those people will never appreciate what accomplishment is. So I salute Ron for getting in the arena on behalf of his clients. I've seen it. I have worked with some of the largest public relations firms on behalf of clients in New York, in Los Angeles, in Miami. The service, the professionalism, the strategic thinking, the planning that you will get at 5W, and we've worked on some matters together, is better than anything I've had. This place is a powerhouse. They do a great job for their clients. I am really honored to be here this morning.
Here, here. Thank you.
Really, in a way, I think communications in the country are moving backwards. If you think about it, when I grew up, and many of you grew up, you had network television. If you lived in New York, it meant there were 13 places on the dial, but only about half of them, a little more than half, had programming. The rest had snow. You had the New York Times, you had the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, the Boston Globe, and media in this country, particularly if you were a conservative Republican like myself, was a controlled commodity. If it wasn't in the New York Times or the Daily News or the New York Post or the Chicago, it didn't happen. It didn't happen, and that caused conservatives and Republicans to invent the technology of direct mail. Direct mail was not only a fundraising device, but sophisticated direct mail was a communications device. It was the way that we could connect ourselves to each other. Liberals and Democrats could connect themselves to each other in the newspaper because you had not an overt bias, but you had a tendency, and most reporters in the Columbia journalism reviews, reveal their own lean to the left. It's the way it was. The coming of the internet, at the same time that cable television became a reality in the country, massified the media in such a way that anyone now can communicate their idea. Doesn't matter if the New York Times doesn't buy what you're selling. You can outshout the New York Times on if what you're saying is interesting enough and important enough. So what you've seen, the manifestation of this has been that a lot of the things that we have used, a lot of the techniques and technologies that we have used to communicate in a political campaign just don't work very well anymore. Let me stay on direct mail because my response is in direct marketing. My first job in politics was as a copywriter. I raised $5.5 million for Ronald Reagan through the mail, which is in those dollars in those days akin to the kind of dollars that Barack Obama has raised through the internet with a really superb campaign of understanding the net and how to utilize them. So if Howard Dean pioneered this on the left, and he did phenomenally, Barack Obama has now improved this, and you really see the internet coming to age in the political process. Where we are falling down in this process is that if you go out and you sought to match a list of voters with email addresses, you're going to be really disappointed in how many of these we can marry. In other words, you'll get about a 20% match. That means you can communicate by internet, by email, with 20% of the voters. That's pathetic. We should be able to communicate with 100% of the voters. But the voter registration bureaus in this country, in every state, including this one, they don't ask for your email address when you register. They should. They don't seek to update it in between elections by just sending you a card. This is official business. They're allowed to solicit it. You wouldn't be required to give it, but the overwhelming majority would. And it would improve our voter communications. It would lower the cost of campaigns, which is always a good thing. And it would upgrade communications and allowed you to utilize the new technology more effectively. So it's the one place where I think politically we're lagging. Now talk about telephones. I mean, we've all heard these stories about push polling and phone banking. There's a substantial difference that the media tends to obscure. Push polling is the calling of a voter and the saying of something false within the context of a couple things that are true to plant an untruth. It's a bad idea. It always blows up in your face. It doesn't work particularly well. But the real reason it's not working well is because of the phoning overall is not working well, whether it's soliciting opinions or advocacy phoning, which we still use, is because of the advent of the cell phone. We can't reach any voters. The number of people who have listed hardwire phones in their homes dwindles by almost 20% a year. So who can you reach? I'll tell you who you can reach. You can reach voters over 65. That's who you can reach. And we do not yet have the technology to match people's cell phones to their voter registration cards. We don't have that information. So the cell phone, in a way, has destroyed the telephone as a political tool. The internet is destroying mail as a political tool. Why? Well, we used to communicate with the theory that a piece of mail had to be highly personalized. We would use a closed-face envelope. We would use a 4-page letter. I'm a great believer that the more you tell, the more you sell. I'm a great Ogilvy. If you haven't read David Ogilvy's Confessions of an Advertising Man book, and you're in public relations or politics or business, I urge you to go get it. It is the finest tome of its type in terms of just basic, rudimentary communications rules. But it very importantly makes the case, and he comes from a direct response discipline, that the personalization of the communication was important. Now, over time, that's become a self-mailing 8x10, Ronn Torossian's a crook, it says on one side, the other side is don't vote for Ronn Torossian. Well, that's great, except for the same day you're getting that in the mail, you're getting something from Sam's Club, the local car wash, Quiznos, the phone company. Everybody's adopted the technology. We know from the studies when you get 8 pieces of flat mail in the mail, you know where that's going? The waste paper basket. It is an ineffective medium. So now we're moving backwards. We're going back to closed-faced envelopes. We're going